Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Achtung Millwall podcast supports the Lions Food Hub, dear listeners, and you can do too by getting yourself an Achtung Millwall t-shirt from noonelikes.co.uk, also known as Nolu Clothing. They've got a wonderful Achtung Millwall t-shirt on there for £15. At least £8 of each sale goes to support the Lions Food Hub, which does fantastic work for families in and around the South East 16 area. Show your allegiances on the podcast front, dear listeners, by getting yourself an Achtung Millwall t-shirt, and by doing that, you'll support the wonderful, the brilliant Lions Food Hub. Noonelikes.co.uk, Achtung Millwall t-shirt, £15. Check it out.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to Achtung Millwall. My name is Nick Hart. You're listening to the number one Millwall podcast, of course. Joining me to review Saturday's damp squib of a 1-0 defeat at Sunderland is our regular correspondent. It's Merv Payne. How you doing, Merv?
I'm good, thanks, Nick. Yep.
The Millwall season, Merv, seems to me it's kind of constantly kind of a flickering state of extinction. Not quite alive, not quite dead yet. It's still in that state. Even after that loss on Saturday, we're still only 6 points, I think it is, off the playoffs.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I was took sort of like the opportunity to have a little look back. You know, I think it's always good. I think maybe any sort of club or supporter or coach or whatever probably wants to just try and improve on the previous season, and because we had such a good end to last season, despite being in a relegation scrap for a bit, that's going to sort of take some doing. I was just curious as to where we were after 39 games last season. I had a quick look, and funnily enough, we were at the exact same point. After 39 games, we were going into April the 1st, which was Easter Monday last year, and we got beat at Rotherham, if you remember.
Right. Yeah, that's right. We did. Yeah.
A couple of games. I think we were on 44 points, only 5 above the drop zone. Then we lost to Rotherham and Huddersfield, and we were in trouble. Then we won 5 on the bounce and ended up, in mid-table really.
Yeah.
But the most interesting thing about that last season was the difference in the points for the 6th place team. This time last year, Norwich were on 64 points in 6th place. West Brom this year only on 57. So, sod's law. We've clearly run out of steam, run out of ideas, we've run out of something. I don't know what it is, but we're lacking a certain spark that perhaps is a shame, because even though we'd both written off our playoff hopes a few weeks ago, probably looking like a record low points total for a team to get that last playoff place.
I think if we can, I would agree, certainly Saturday and the last couple of games. We got a bit lucky in the late win against Stoke, lucky in the sense of that late penalty, which had to be put away and was well by Mihailo. But the overall performance didn't exactly inspire excitement in me.
No, this is it. This is why you can't imagine us getting involved in that playoff.
No, we don't look like
it. Thing. No, we don't.
We don't look like we've got our own self-belief. I was just doing a few notes of my own, trying to analyse where we're at from Saturday. And in bits, like the season itself, I think, Merv, in bits on Saturday, we didn't look too bad. What we lack is that proverbial cutting edge. We get close to their penalty area and we've just got nothing. Certainly with the 11 that we put out on Saturday, I know we're carrying a lot of injuries. That's the other side of it, isn't it? Injury hit. But nevertheless, Cundall and Connolly, and then Marku and Coburn in front of them as our attacking four. You'd have thought we'd have come up with a bit more pizzazz, but we just don't seem to have that self-belief almost, Merv. I don't think the team believes they can do it.
It does feel like that. I mean, what I've taken from the last few games, and Derby, even Derby away was a good win, but again it was a 1-0 win, and then we speak. I just think the performances or the tactics, we're not creating enough chances. I mean, we're not. Then our strikers are no good, but it doesn't matter who you have up front. You're not creating enough chances, and people think, if you have a chance, like Coburn had a couple of good chances, he should have put one of them away. But I think for strikers, most strikers want a lot of chances in order to get a goal. And I was looking at I'm not a big fan of stats, but I did a brief look, and I think we had more of the possession at Sunderland.
Unusually,
we had 5 shots, only 2 on target. I think we only had 11 shots. That was at home to Stoke, and you always expect to be much better at home, obviously, and only 4 on target. Nothing on target at Leeds. And you look at other teams that are perhaps a bit more free, obviously further up the table, but the likes of Coventry and Burnley are getting 16, 17 shots on a match. And I think you need that sort of ratio to nick a goal.
I'd agree with that. I mean, we've got a kind of worst. I mean, when Alex Neil came in, I suppose I was kind of inwardly expecting a more open style. We kind of trying to get that. I think I do endorse where he's aiming us. I think that is to get a more open attacking style. And I'm 100% behind that. But at the moment, for whatever reason, and it may be that some of the players are running out of gas in the tank, so to speak. But we've got the kind of worst of both sides, because if you play open style, Merv, you're going to have to expect to concede chances, concede a goal. Yeah. We're doing that all right. With the chances almost from the kickoff. I think Jensen was my man of the match from Saturday, because he
made a brilliant save, didn't he?
In the first minute, he closed down an angle, and then a few moments later, another good save, and then the goal, which we'll come back to. I mean, we had some nice moments in odd occasions, but for the most part, if anyone looked like they were going to score, it was going to be Sunderland. I think that's where the season itself is. I know we've had chopping and changing in managerially and tactical direction, but we've never really looked a dangerous team, have we, going forward? No, that's their problem.
The feeling I got, it's been really frustrating, and it was frustrating for large spells at Derby. Really frustrating being the home team against Stoke.
Yeah.
And at Leeds as well, after having a fairly bright opening sort of 5 or 10 minutes. I just get the feeling we're easy to play against.
We seem to make it easy, don't we?
Yeah, or we're easy to set up against and stop from being a danger, because we don't seem to have to do we don't seem to have to hold on to the ball. I tried to count three passes strung together in the Stoke game and the Leeds game, and I couldn't. And it's so frustrating because you don't get much of the ball against a lot of good teams in the Championship. And it all stems from there. It all stems from the fact that we don't seem to have any players that can keep possession
and retain it. Yeah,
and it's a domino effect. That's why we're not creating any chances and we're not scoring goals, and it's going to just carry on. It's a shame because I mentioned Derby. Negley looked good in that. He looked really desperate to get involved for most of the game, and when he did get involved, he picked the ball up and he ran at players, and he created Coburn's 2 chances, one for the penalty and one for the goal. So, but of course he gets injured, and it's disruption as well. Because as soon as Aziz looks good, he gets injured.
He's injured. I mean, I was going to mention both those names. But the injury list it's bedeviled us all season, isn't it? I mean, the freeway sub. It's still with a goal. I mean, before we veered into the second half, the goal I thought was a nicely worked goal. I mean, I don't know where the difference lies between a nicely worked set piece by your opponents and poor defending. It kind of needs a bit of both in a way.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
Definitely both.
But it was a nice routine. Love to see us try a few routines like that of our own. But kind of a short corner, knock back, and then the cross came in, and it was almost side-footed home at the far post. And the man in space, no one's picked him up. As I say, I don't know whether that's a great routine or whether that's poor defending. You'll probably take your pick there, Merv. But the goal was building, and I never thought we'd ever really looked like we said already, it never looked dangerous before. It didn't look all that afterwards. So
No, it's one of those games where they score and you think, right, well, that's the final score now. That's
it felt that way,
scenario.
and they looked building for a second. They nearly got that in the
Yeah.
second half.
Yeah.
The penalty, of course. We looked a bit better. Actually, it was a point blank save. Sorry, let me viewing away round notes, listeners, and backwards and forwards. Just after the half-time break, 52 minutes, Jensen made a brilliant save. It was a point-blank header. I think the Sunderland striker would have been disappointed not to put that away. But then we had that game delay while there's something happened in the crowd. But we looked a lot better once the substitutions. We went to a two-man forward line, and we started to at least get a few moments after that. Not much, but a bit better, I thought. But then the penalty, I thought we were done for it. At the penalty, to be honest, but it was a great save and a poor pen by them.
Yeah. It's just a shame that we couldn't maybe go on and nick a point after saving that penalty, but there was there's just an air of predictability about it, which is a shame, you know.
Late chance for Ivanovic, who couldn't quite get the ball under. That was 90+2, so we're really at the death of it there. So it was a strange, bitty performance. Alex Neil, after the game, I think made similar points about not having that kind of quality in the final third, as he put it. That's been the case all season. I do wonder what we're going to do come summer. We've got to be looking at this. We haven't scored enough goals. It's an area that screams out, isn't it? You look at the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think our goals for is one of the worst, isn't it? I think, It's one of the lowest. I think that's an Oxford, is it? I'm not sure now. But
let's have a look. 37 goals scored.
And that's really poor, isn't it?
Well, it is because Blackburn 42. Otherwise, you got sitting above us, Norwich City, just 1 point in front of us, having scored 61 goals. Now they've conceded a lot more, but still, there's quite a contrast. And if you get into the top 6, so the Burnleys and the West Broms are all decisively in front of us, 48 goals, 56, 56
you've got to
53. So there we are.
You've got to be getting late 40s, early 50s at least, really, haven't you, to have any chance of anything. But
so we've got to be scoring probably at least 1 to 2 goals more per game than we are scoring at the moment. That shows no great signs at the minute. I mean, we've made some decent signings in January, although most of those seem to have been more investments in the future, Merv. It's
funny, because I made a little note of that. I saw that there were some people complaining about this, and
Benny Benicio and Zach Lovelace, And
I sort of put, obviously, has there been perhaps too much investment in the future? I know they're banging on about we're investing in the future, but has there been perhaps a little bit too much? Because this is obviously far and away the most players we've brought in over 2 windows. I mean, we brought a lot in the summer. We brought a lot in January. And the ones that were for the now, so I think you're talking like Crammer, Connolly, Cundall, have been a bit hit and miss. So, like I say, we need to remember Crammer's not in being played his favourite position. Connolly's looked good at some spells and not so good at others. Cundall's been the biggest disappointment for me because it sounded like he was just the sort of player that we needed. We were crying out.
Looked really bright that first game. He
really
scored.
Bright on his day. He scored. Yeah. And it feels like he's almost. I wonder if he's been dragged down to the rest of the squad's level. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this isn't that good, but it just feels like we just. I don't know. He's not.
He's been a disappointment for me. I mean, I'm also struck by Imaku, who always looks good when he comes on as that 70th minute substitute, the impact sub, as they call
player.
it. But starting, he doesn't seem to have the locker of the armoury of tricks that you would expect from a decent one. I keep coming back to the injury list, listeners. Femi Aziz and Camille Negley, 2 very, very strong first choice players that are out. And the others, for whatever reason, we've signed as investments for the future. Let's hope they come good next season, probably. Connolly, I find an intriguing player, Merv, and I wanted to look at him because I every time I've seen him play, I really like the look of him.
Yeah.
He seems to carry some weight. I don't know the boy's life. His looks. He gives me hope that I've still got a career in professional football because he's got enough around the middle to make me dream. But he has great skill. He's got vision, and he looks a top level player. can play at a higher level, but
Mm.
you don't get picked. And
No.
there's something amiss with the boy, I think. I don't know.
I saw a really good comment on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, the other, I
Yeah.
think just after Saturday's game, and someone said I wouldn't be sticking with Connolly. There's something about him doesn't sit right, and someone replied, Ben Marshall vibes.
Ben Marshall vibes is a
Yeah,
very good way to put it.
because when he looks good, he looks really good. He looks,
Yeah.
and he's obviously got potential because he was obviously highly rated. Certain things have happened, and
Yeah.
there's a good reason why we only gave him a contract to the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I think the Ben Marshall comparison is probably quite right.
Probably a good one.
There's obviously bigger things going on in his life than mere football, and which is why the club are treading carefully. But it's a shame because there looks like there's a really good player in there.
Yeah. There is the touch and the vision and the the whole kind of package he's got it all. The Ben Marshall's a very good comparison.
It is.
Because there's always a slight sense of what if with these kinds of players.
Absolutely.
Can't control somebody else's life, listeners, and we can only wish him well if whatever he's dealing with.
There are bigger things at play sometimes than playing football. That's the thing.
Coburn up front seems to be a favourite choice. I was just looking at the South London Press, Merv, before we started talking, and club are talking about trying to make it a signing. Full-scale signing. He's on loan at the moment from Middlesbrough. Fine. I mean, he doesn't. He's a physical player. We don't seem to be playing a direct style that I would have expected with such a player as Josh Coburn up front. I'm looking at him as a Cascarino kind of.
I always liked his. I liken him to Cass because of his hold up play and that, and he would like bring up the other players into the game rather than just be sort of a headless chicken, sort of centre forward or just a target man. But again, I think we've got a lot of uncertainty, haven't we? I mean, I've seen the different lists bandied about of players who are out of contract.
Yeah,
it's really hard. It's really hard to actually get a definitive answer on whose contract ends when these days. I've noticed because there's various websites. I think they're only guessing.
I think they are. I was looking at one transfer mark, but I thought actually I don't know how real this is.
They've got Joe Bryan down as 2027, but that's obviously not the case because I read an interview with him in the Southwark News saying that obviously his deal is up in the summer.
Right.
I think
he seems to be enjoying his football, Joe Bryan. He's come a long way this season for me. He looks like he's interested and he's enjoying himself. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he still gets a lot of stick, but he's said a couple of times now in interviews that he's praised Alex Neil, and I think the last one was that it's the best coach he's played under. So clearly,
high praise. He's got some big names under his belt. Ranieri as well.
Yes,
and
I think I think he's proved the critics wrong. By and large, he's kept clear of injury. For me, the only thing that disappoints me about Joe Bryan, it's not just him, but it's the whole team. It's just we don't seem to have much in terms of. I mean, you touched on it before about defending them, but set pieces. We never seem very threatening from free kicks and corners. And I think again, there was a comment on Twitter. I think during the match, questioning: do we actually practice set pieces, both taking them and defending them in training? Because it doesn't look like it sometimes. We look so vulnerable from corners, and we look so poor at them. You do wonder, is it?
Well, it's interesting on that point. I watched the club on Millwall TV. Anyone that doesn't subscribe, listeners, there's actually some good content on this, and some of it's good. For my own, I must have been very bored. I was watching like a dialogue between Jake Cooper and George Saville as to like what was the other one thinking. I don't know how they constructed it, but one thing I think one of the questions was who's the best shooter at the club. And Jake, I think, gave away the game. It's the wrong way to put it. He's not disclosed anything untoward. He said, "I don't really see much of the shooting drills. I don't really see much of the shooting practice," which is fine because he's a defender. But you think you would? You'd think they'd all be on the same. They'd all be trying to shoot.
Yeah, well, I had this conversation with my youngest lad about cricket because we're both keen on cricket. And I'm not a cricket expert by any means. I've got into cricket mainly from my dad playing.
Yeah,
become more of a fan of it. I'm certainly not a student of the sport. There's still tons of it I don't understand.
Yeah,
but we always agree. Isn't it strange how like your bowlers are so crap at batting? And you think if you're a professional cricket player, you think you'd be pretty damn good at batting.
You'd think,
but then you think, well, you have to focus so much time on your bowling technique. It's so
time for practice is so limited.
You can't be a good bat, but sometimes you think some of them look like they've never picked up a bat in their life, you know. And it must be the same for football, I guess. But you'd think, wouldn't you? Would a professional footballer, you would think, at some point in his career has played in a variety of positions. You know, a lot of strikers converted to centre back, didn't they? I mean, Sol Campbell was one, I think.
Yeah.
Vice versa. And you think they would have all the.
You think they'd all practice all aspects of the game together?
It's a bizarre thing, isn't it? Yeah.
I get the defence have obviously got to focus on their drills and that, but it just struck me as an oddity.
I'm sure if we had a match and we had Jake Cooper come down and he played up front, I'm sure he'd still absolutely roast a lot of us anyway. But
we did an interview with him. The club arranged it. It was a really nice idea. But one of the things I wanted to ask him was whether he enjoyed that strange little period under Gary Rowett. He was given license to go forwards, almost like a kind of latter day Johan Cruyff getting into the attacking positions. You know.
Yeah, and he got that winner away at Sheffield United, didn't he? That late winner that time.
He scored at Charlton. I think it was a COVID game though. I forgotten it was under the restrictions, but he scored from the wing, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, there we are. That's a win Saturday, listeners, leaves us still 13th position.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
6 points off of West Brom. We got beat on Saturday. So I mean, you know, it's Coventry 59, West Brom 57, but there's a stack of clubs between us and them. So I wouldn't go putting any money on it, listeners. But equally, it's probably not quite yet time to book your summer holidays, Merv, because it's not totally out of the question mathematically.
Well, no, because I mean, if like I said last year, we're at the same point, and we won we won the last 5 in a row. We won 5 of the last 7. If we were to win 5 of the last 7 now, that would put us on 66 points.
In amongst it. Starting with Pompey on Saturday, which is a good place to start.
And we may well end up missing out in the playoffs by about 2 points, which quite a few of the Gary Rowett seasons, when you look back at the table, you think, oh, they only missed out in the playoffs by a couple of points. We were often in a similar position to this at this point. We were like half a dozen games to go. You're thinking, we can't get in the playoffs, and we'd have a little flurry of wins, and you think, you know what? If we'd have just bloody held on to that 2-1 lead, we'd have sneaked into the play. I think when we got beat at QPR on the last game of the season,
that's right,
a couple of seasons ago. I think did we lose 5-3 or something ridiculous? But had we won that game, I think we'd have ended up we'd have sneaked into the playoffs.
We went down I remember going down to Bournemouth. This is going back a few years ago. I drove down. For late, I think if we needed other results to go our way, it never got close. But to be in with a shout on the last day is.
I mean, it does look like it's going to be one of the lowest. I can't remember what the lowest ever won. I think it was bloody Palace. I think sneaked in on 65 points or something. And of course they bloody went up and won the whole bloody. Of course they bloody did. Yeah, Palace being Palace.
I don't know what the target is for the season. I mean, our highest position, which both Rowett and Harris achieved, is an 8th place finish in a couple of seasons. But in both cases, so you know that I would imagine from Alex Neil's perspective, if he's always going to say the target is to get into the top 6, and you know that of course that's the target. A realistic aim must be to get as close as possible to that kind of level, I suppose. 10th, 9th, 8th.
Top half. I think considering we've had another disrupted season, haven't we? I think top half
we have
been going, But yeah, I say it's such a weird division this year because clearly you've not got anyone who's really streaked ahead of anyone else.
No.
Sheffield United, Leeds and Burnley are obviously out on their own a little bit, but they're not brilliant. You know, they're not.
We're not unbeatable, are they? Yeah. We've beaten Leeds, and you know it's not impossible. So
no.
I mean, Sunderland
not conceding goals, and I said they've only letting 11 goals all season, which is crazy. You know, that's mad. And Sunderland, Coventry, West Brom, they're not great teams, are they? You know, they're all beatable.
No, they're beatable sides. I mean, Sunderland I thought looked all right. That wasn't their strongest 11, I think, on Saturday. I think they said they had a few out injured, so you know, and they've obviously come a long way from the depths that they'd sunk into. It's a big club. I mean, is it the proverbial tough place to go? I don't know, Merv. It's a big stadium. It's a big name club, and it's Sunderland, one of the big names of football. So you know, long hats off. Incidentally, before I let you go, Merv, to the 700 plus, I think that went up there. It's a long journey. I looked at it.
That is. Yeah.
I was half toying with the idea of driving up there, and I looked at it. It was about 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
I spent all day behind the wheel. I thought, no, I'll leave it. I'll watch it on the telly.
Not the best, is it?
I've never been to Sunderland. It's on my bucket list. Have you ever been to the stadium a lot?
No, I've never been to either. I didn't make it to Roker.
No. I think
I
for
think
that reason, just a drill
ironically, the
away.
one time, the one time I came very close to going to Roker Park, I think it was near the end of the 85-86 season.
Mm.
And I was going to go, and I decided against it at the last minute. And I think that's one of the few times we won up there. I think Fashion who scored the winner, so which is bloody typical that. But it's one of those places we've never done well there, you know.
No. It always seems like a long way to go, and we never
It's
seem to
one of
get
them,
much out.
you know. They've obviously got eyes on the playoffs. They want to cement the playoff place, and we're in that weird position where we're not looking over our shoulders, and there's not a lot of ambition to get in the top six. I don't think because of the way we're playing.
No, just before we close, I mean, we are in a comfortable position of being able to look with a bit like looking at a car crash on the M1 as you drive past, listeners. But look at the bottom half of the table. I mean, obviously Plymouth, not totally out of it. But they do look like they are destined to be going down there rock bottom at 34 points. Safety lies in Cardiff and 40. Derby and Luton, I mean, Luton not long out of the Premier League. Looking at
That is a surprise for me, I must admit.
Yeah.
I thought they'd come out of the Premier League a really strong sort of.
Absolutely, I thought they'd be contenders, but they seem to have lost whatever
and it's
plot they had.
interesting because what you get, probably what we need if we're going to have any chance of success in the near future is we probably need a few more Lutons, a few more teams that have come down from the Prem to carry on struggling.
Yeah.
And there could be a chance of that next season. You know, with Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester are all going to come straight back down.
Yeah, Southampton look awful. Nine points.
They look. So you can't tell them they might all be strong again next year, but if they're not,
an open division, and we've got Birmingham coming up from League One, and probably Wrexham. Who knows if Charlton can claw their way back into it? That was always good for a few points for us, isn't they, Charlton?
Charlton, that's amazing because until I think a couple of months ago, I was reading Charlton fans on Twitter going absolutely ballistic about Jones. And suddenly they can't stop winning. And
but isn't that what he did with Luton? He got like a roll of momentum going.
Yeah,
I think he's got that momentum going at Charlton now.
Yes, and I'd probably make them one of the favourites for the playoffs if they
playoff football will probably suit him. I would say he's that very emotional. I mean, I've seen him when some of the early games. He looked like he was in the depths of despair when they got beat somewhere. I don't know where it's Shrewsbury or somewhere. You know, he does seem to live and feel it. But at least we're not looking at the relegation zone.
Well, this is it. I mean,
that's a comfort.
Last year, you know, we thought we had a nice little 5-point cushion. Yeah. And that got wiped out when we lost at Rotherham and Huddersfield, and I honestly thought we were down.
Yeah, I
remember that interview with Neil Harris after the Huddersfield game, and I thought, wow, he looks for the first time ever. He looks a broken man. He looks like he's
been beaten.
He's lost it, and then of course we turned it around with beating Leicester at home, and then we won the last 5. It was just bizarre. But, huge
game Saturday, Pompey. I think we will definitively be able to say that we've probably got no chance if we can't get points from Pompey Saturday, Merv. But just keep our fingers crossed, and perhaps you and I can review the situation next Monday up at the Portsmouth game. To see if we've still got some life, or if we can start experimenting with the kids. Incidentally, I was going to mention it's good to see Macaulay Langstaff come back on. I don't expect him to stay, Merv. Do you?
No, I don't. No.
But I think he's a decent player. He's given everything he has got to give at this level. I don't think he's got the quality. But it's good to see him back. And it was quite interesting to see some of the kids on the bench, Matthews and Kendall. And
I was going to mention, I made a little note about Matthews. He scored 3 goals in his last 2 games for the under-21s, hasn't he, since he come back from injury?
Yeah.
And I noticed Alex Neil says he needs toughening up, but he really seems to have an eye for a goal. I didn't realise last season, I think quite a few Premier League clubs were interested in him. I think Rangers and Celtic were interested in him.
Yeah.
But Newcastle were, Brighton. So he's obviously got something, but as Alex Neil said, they were interested in him for their academies or for their under-21 squads to develop him.
I mean, we may get to see him if the season really does peter out, as it's kind of not far short of it at the moment. We may get to see some of these players. Kendall, I think, is Sheldon Kendall, isn't
yes, I like them.
Very highly rated. And good to see Ryan Leonard coming back from injury.
Definitely. Yeah.
I don't know where he stands contract. I think did I read he's triggered a 12-month extension.
Triggered a 12-month extension.
So he's certainly here next season.
It's a conversation. I mean, you could fill a whole episode with the conversation of who's going in the summer or who's contract but it's probably a conversation for another time.
We
But
save it to when the season that the candle has flickered out, as
completely
Elton
petered
John,
out. Yeah.
Elton John might have put it.
Yeah.
Merv, I'm gonna let you go, mate. I want to say a
Okay,
big
mate.
thank you to Merv for joining us. We will be right back, dear listeners, after these messages. Stay tuned.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online. Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025. Bank of America Corporation. All rights reserved.
Achtung, Millwall.
It's a well-worked set play from their point of view. We switch off at the edge of the box and they manage to get a strike at goal. And then it makes obviously the task difficult. I thought we had some decent moments towards the end of the game. You know, I thought we had great delivery by Lenny. I think the two forwards have spun rather than one of them get across the front. And then there's one where ball gets clipped to the back stick, Lenny nods it down and Mihailo gets his strike away, the lad blocks it. Get Josh Coburn's sort of header. I think that probably my biggest frustration, I thought between both boxes, I thought we played quite well. I thought we needed to create more in the final third. You know, that was probably my biggest criticism.
Welcome back after the break, dear listeners, and that was, of course, Alex Neil speaking to Millwall TV after the game on Saturday. A very, how can you put it, a disappointing 1-0 loss. We didn't seem to bring much to the party, given that we do still, as we've just been saying with Merv, do still have a shot, outside shot, at the playoffs. We just didn't seem to play with enough fire in the belly for me on Saturday. Why is that? Don't know. Maybe, as we've said already, maybe there's just not enough petrol in the tank. The goal was disappointing, I thought, to concede 1-0. Very nicely worked, set piece, as I said to Merv. But it's still, you still got to look at your own defence if you're giving a man space at the far post to side foot home. Not much that Jensen could have done. Incidentally, I want to mention the penalty save. I think I've mentioned it with Merv already, but I want to mention it again because Lucas Jensen's taken a fair amount of stick at times across this season, and you can probably still critique his goalkeeping on occasions. He punched one on Saturday where I really would have preferred him to have caught it. Maybe that's the way of the modern goalkeeper coaching, I don't know. But he made a few really decisive blocks and saves across the whole game, almost from the first minute, and a penalty save, which, however poorly it was taken, goalkeeper still got to get down and collect it, which is what he did. So my man of the match for me on Saturday, Lucas Jensen. I just want to, given the circumstances we're in at the moment, with Liam Roberts still out suspended, and we're playing with the reserve keeper G. Evans. Is it George Evans? I think it's George Evans. I made him my man of the match from Saturday. Now then, listeners, I've got a few, not many, voice notes. So I'm going to begin our voice note section with the familiar voice, the one and only Bobby T. Big thank you, Bob. Take it away.
Nick Hart, Bobby T, live from the old hours, just finished my shift. Poor souls. I mean, great effort. 610-mile trip to the stadium of shit, stadium of light, if you want to call it. Didn't watch the game, can't really judge, basically. Langstaff and Mihailo at the end had a chance, lost 1-0. Save Jensen penalty. You know what? Season was over well before, if you ask me. Some people on social media saying Fleming back. Fuck that. Never Fleming back. 8 million now Premiership, won him back because of his free kick. Stop Millwall fans, stop living in the past, mate. Going backwards, mate. Lost 1-0, don't want Fleming back. Bill for next season. And that's it, we lost 1-0. 6 points off playoff, season's over anyway, as I said. You know, mathematically, we can still do it. Next week, Pompey, West Brom lose. Only 1 place up for grabs. Ain't going to happen. Bye for now, Bobby T signing off. Nick Hart, Bobby T, one more thing, hold on. For me, this season, since Alex Neil took over, it's been a breath of fresh air. At first, I said to you in one of my voice notes that Alex Neil wasn't the one to take us forward. I'll take that back, mate. Yeah, we lost today, Sunderland, flying high. You know, they're going to go playoffs. And I don't know, I didn't watch the game, can't really say, but the players that he's bedded in, a few additions next season of the midfield, we should be okay next season, challenging top 7, top 6 next year, next August. So Bobby T signing off. Lost to the Black Cats. But bye for now, Bobby T. Nick Hart, Achtung Millwall, Bobby T here. Maybe for the last time, not this season. Achtung Millwall, the godfather of the podcast. I've just seen a fucking goal. Who was back post? Cramer's a right back or was he centre back? Who was marking for their goal? Fucking freedom of fucking Sunderland. Joke. Cutting edge going forward, mate. You know, Mahara right at the end, death, and balled it. Should have buried it 1-1. Josh Coburn, I don't know. We're going to sign him for whatever money. Could be on the treatment table. Fucking hell, Millwall. Next season, we go again. Bye for now. Pompey, we're coming. Nick Hart, Bobby T. Achtung Millwall. Do you know what really gets to me today? And it's only Millwall could do this. Every team above us lost the game, and Millwall didn't capitalise. It just shows you, innit? We smell the playoffs, we get a chance, and that's it. Fucked up, innit? But we don't deserve it with our play. Bobby T definitely signing off now with a curry. Good night, Nick Hart and Achtung Millwall. See you at home to Pompey. Bye for now.
Enjoy that curry, Bob. Enjoy it, mate. I don't know these people online that think Fleming might even be able to come back. How is that even possible? We've signed a £7 or £8 million deal payable at the end of the season. He's on loan, and I think Burnley pay up at the end of, I'm going to guess whenever the season's over, June or something. So take no notice of what people say online, Bob. I think that one of the downfalls of the modern world is too many people online talking absolute tosh. I've mentioned it to Merv already. The long range trip that is Sunderland, 610 miles. It's a long way round trip, isn't it? I was going to go in a sudden moment of lightheadedness. I was going to go. I've just never been to Sunderland. It's actually on my bucket list, listeners, of places I've got to get to at some point. Great stadia of world football, that kind of thing. But every time I think I've got to go, maybe I will go next season. When it gets to the crunch, I don't go. I do agree about Alex Neil's general direction. I like his style post-match, Bob. I do agree about the direction that the club is taking, football-wise I'm talking about. Breath of fresh air, I think Bobby described him as. I think he is. There's a lot of potential in this side. There's still work to be done. I do think that we need to find some midfield pizzazz and spark. And I'm not sure that some of the players we've got out there quite bring it. I think someone like Aaron Connolly could, but as we've said already with Merv, there may be other issues that are holding him back. And, I really hope that the boy can sort himself out. He's a really good footballer in Aaron Connolly, and it's a real waste, terrible waste to see him not getting time on the pitch. Because when he does play, I think he's got touch and ability, but he does carry a bit around his middle, listeners. Even me, I think I might give him a go at 65 years old. So, there's work to be done. Cundall, not so sure about. In Marku, I don't know. He's not starting very well. He comes in as a impact sub, as we've said already on this show. The goal Bob mentions, confusion. I've asked the question of Merv. What do you think, listeners? Where does the balance lie between poor defence and a really well-worked set piece? I'd love to see us employing some set pieces like that, because that's an area I really hope over the summertime the club look to work on, because that's one area where we do seem a bit short. As for other results, yes, we are still, despite all of it, just 6 points behind West Brom in sixth spot. A lot of clubs between us and West Brom, but not many points. So what we really need, if it can be done, if we can find the self-belief and the inner kind of fibre, is a series of wins. We need to maybe go undefeated. We need to get, well, we've got 6 games to go, 7 games, is it? We need 5-6 wins and see where we stand. Don't know. Don't go putting your mortgage on it, everyone. Let's have a listen now to Glyn Halder.
Hello Nick, Glenn here. So after the Sunderland game, I think there's not a huge amount to talk about there. I mean, it really did feel like a game towards the end of a dead rubber season, really. But I think I have to say, a big improvement from Kundal. It was really good to see him sort of getting back to the sort of levels and engagement and impact on the game that he did when he first got into the team. So that's good. Jensen pulled off a superb save, and yeah, credit to him. He had a decent enough game, I think. And I think Joe Bryan played really well. Centre backs played really well. It was great to see Ryan Leonard come back on, because I think Crammer did well, but he's been stretched, and often you see Crammer doing some amazing things, but after he's been caught out of position. So I think he's just really starting to sort of be found out, I think, in that role. So it's good to see Leonard come back. But I think we have to have a look in the longer term here and look at both our fullbacks, who have to play that sort of advancing sort of role, and they're both in their 30s now, and that for me sort of says it's not really the future, is it? Those two players can play a role, but they're both susceptible to injury, and as they're advancing in their years, that's only going to get worse. So yeah, we need to do something with those two positions. I think Connolly is a player I really rate. I think he's superb. But I just got the feeling he was trying a bit too hard, got caught in possession too many times tried to run round 3 or 4 players when a pass was on. And maybe that's because it's his ex-club. So maybe in other games he'd be a little bit more involved in passing the ball around. But still, I would offer him a contract. I think he's good enough to stay on. But if Femi Aziz was in the team, I would put him ahead of Connolly, and probably look to play Connolly in the 10, given the choice. I think midfield, Casper played well, Billy played well. A few wayward passes, a strange backheel from Billy at one point around the penalty area, which I thought was very un-Billy-like, really. He's usually a very sensible head on his shoulders. But apart from that, they did okay. This season is petering out. It'd be nice to get another 3 or 4 points just to sort of push us up the table a bit, but I really don't see many more wins in this division. And we start to look towards the summer. So let's see what the management team are going to bring in for us. But come on, you Lions, not a bad performance, but certainly not setting the world alight.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
So good, so good, so good.
Get ready, because Clear the Rack is on at your Nordstrom Rack store. Now through Monday, find incredible deals on Wear Now styles. On sale for even less at Nordstrom Rack. Take an extra 25% off red tag clearance throughout the store from brands like Adidas, Marc Jacobs, Steve Madden, and more. All sales final. The best stuff goes fast. So shop this sale at Nordstrom Rack today. Please see NordstromRack.com or ask a store associate for details.
Cheers, Glyn. Yeah, agree with that, mate. Interesting how you can watch the same game and see different things. I didn't think much of Kundal Saturday, but clearly Glyn impressed with him on Saturday, and I suppose football is the proverbial game of opinions, isn't it? I was actually going to make... it felt a bit cheap to make the point that we were on the beach. I don't think we were on the beach on Saturday. We actually pressed in phases and got some nice passing in bits. It was the consistency and then the switching off, particularly after the goal from Sunderland. But then that's been so for many, many games this season. Do agree about the need to reinforce the left and right side positions. Joe Bryan playing very well, as we've said already. Seems to enjoy playing for Alex Neil. A lot of warm words from him in an interview recently. Ryan Leonard back from injury and has taken up the 12-month extension option that he holds, contract extension. So clearly both are happy at Millwall. I'm happy to have them both next season, but I do agree with Glyn about reinforcements being needed. Now, whether that is Danny Mack, don't know what Alex Neil has in mind. I would think that if we're going to develop the style that we're in, dear listeners, that we're going to want people that can get forwards in wing-back type roles, i.e. someone that can cross from the wide positions. And obviously that's Joe Bryan's forte. Ryan Leonard can do it, but both are of a certain age now and will be injured more and more often. So as injuries have blighted our campaign this year, we were hopefully going to try and get some younger blood in that maybe can run through a knock more than our older boys can. So it's going to be an interesting summertime of choices by the club as to who stays and who goes. I've already mentioned Aaron Connolly. I want to say to everyone, I really like him. I think every time I've seen him play, he's got touch and guile and skill at the highest level. I want to see him come good. I'd love to see him come good with us. Whether he's going to be offered a contract or not, I don't know. That's probably going to have to be a few hard conversations behind closed doors with the boy. Would love to see it. I actually probably would offer him a contract. I know Merv mentioned voices online that wouldn't offer it to him. I would. I just see enough in him. And one thing we really, really lack, with one or two exceptions, is quality on the ball, listeners. And Aaron does have that. I do hope he can sort his lifestyle thing out. That's what's got to come with that. That's for Alex Neil to talk hard to the boy. Incidentally, I did see up in Scotland just to there'll be howls of protest at your car stereo or your earphones as I mentioned his name. But I saw Kevin Nisbet scored goals for Aberdeen and was named in the Scottish national squad. He's doing well up in the far north, up in Aberdeen. I wonder how Alex Neil will see Kevin Nisbet, fellow Scot. He must have his contacts up there that can give a fair report as to the boy's progress. A goal scorer, clearly. Whether he's good enough in Championship football, a bit like Macaulay Langstaff, who we've mentioned already, made a comeback Saturday. Whether that's being good in places like Aberdeen or Notts County, in Langstaff's case, and then holding your own in the Premier League Division 2, which is what the Championship effectively is now, it's a different ball game entirely. So I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting summertime of choices by Millwall Football Club. Clearly the club is setting its stall out to find and develop talent to improve. And with some of the signings we've made in the January transfer window, i.e. it's going to be interesting to see how Zach Lovelace comes back from injury once he's out of the Sweeney Todd's butcher's shop, and the other boy, Benicio Boateng. What's he look like? What does Camille Negley really look like? We haven't really seen that much of any of these players so far. A good summertime and then a good pre-season. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of lineup we've got next year. Whether that includes Aaron Connolly, I don't know. I would. Would you, dear listeners? You tell me. Last voice note from Saturday is Rob Woodford. Let's have a listen to Rob.
Well, at times, we did play some decent football in the first half, and maybe some glimpses of what we might expect next season. But we ran down by that corner that looked everything like a training ground routine, didn't it? And the finish was excellent. So it took a good goal to do for us yesterday. I thought Idemo showed his inexperience actually with that booking, and he never really looked like wanting to risk a tackle after that. Kundal had a better game today and worked well as the link man between midfield and the strikers, but still a lot of work to do with him, I think. Coburn was so unlucky not to score before half time. It's just a fag paper, wasn't it, between his boot and the ball. It just needed a touch. In the second half, saw Jensen keep us in the game again, becoming a habit in recent weeks. Maybe some fans should reset their opinion about him. And then he went on to save a penalty as well. Sunderland look technically a good side and pass the ball well, and perhaps because of their league position, assured of a playoff berth, they played with plenty of freedom. The top 4 teams in this league are streets ahead of us, the rest of us in points, aren't they? So it was always going to be pissing in the wind yesterday, I think. But I thought we did well when we managed to get possession in the second half, and this all bodes well again for next season. It's a shame that the BFS couldn't sort his plates out and get a decent shot away in the dying minutes. But for me, Connolly shows plenty of spirit and should always start for me. Langstaff has a point to prove, and the new gaffer might get his, with the new gaffer, he might get his chance as an impact sub in the last 7 games. So all in all, I don't think losing 1-0 is a disgrace. Okay, we've dropped back to 13th again with that late goal at Carrow Road, but 3 points against Pompey next weekend, and we can start hoping and thinking about a top half finish, perhaps. On a positive note, it was good to see that Kramer has finally sorted his Barnet out. International break, FFS. On a personal note, Nick, thank you for a glowing endorsement of the Millwall History and Heritage Walk on your previous broadcast. It was not only great to have the Millwall Podfather in attendance, but your public thumbs up makes what Mike and I do all the more worthwhile. Thanks also for pointing out that as well as presenting all the facts, we do try to make the tour fun and entertaining. Mike is actually a stand-up comedian, but when he stands up on stage, everyone in the audience stands up and fucks off out of it. If any of your dear listeners are interested in the next walk on the Isle of Dogs, it's on the 11th of October. There are 25 places, and a quick look at the Eventbrite listing. Some tickets have been sold already. So we hope to see some of you on the next one. Come on, you Lions.
The old jokes are the best, Rob. That's what I say, mate. Really good walk, listeners. I mentioned it in the previous show. I shall mention it again, and I shall stick the link in on the show notes for this edition. This is the Mill Heritage walk that Rob and Mike George organise every international break, pretty much, it seems. Starting out at the Docklands Diner, which is up near West Ferry Station for everyone that knows the Isle of Dogs or works around there. It's a nice starting point, and you kind of take a meandering walk around the main points of interest on the Isle of Dogs, including the site of the original Morton's factory, the canning factory. It's not a jam factory, listeners. It's a canning factory, but it's gone now. So but you go past various locations like the George Pub, formerly the headquarters of Mill FC, various points where some of our major players from the past lived. A lot of the islanders, well, I say changed, totally transformed would be a better way to put it, for the better, I think, when you listen to the stories of the old days and the terrible poverty and the poor conditions that prevailed on the Isle of Dogs back in Victorian and Edwardian Britain. It's a fascinating tour. You go past the what was the athletic ground where Mill Athletic played, which is now Asda, and then on to eventually to Millwall Park and to the Lord Nelson itself, and you finish with a couple of beers in the Lord Nelson, bought by yourself, not bought by Mike or Rob, I hasten to add. But do feel free to get them a beer after an excellent walk. They would deserve it. So no, I fully endorse it. Really nice comments from Rob there, and 100% anything I can do to support a bit of Mill heritage, I'll do my best to. So I'll stick a link for the Eventbrite, and it's on the 11th of October. Rob said, fully recommend it. Walk around the Isle of Dogs. There we are, dear listeners. Kramer's haircut I've written down here. That's a random note from Rob's thing. It does look a lot better, Tristan. Zut alors. Much better. I can't think of what better is in French. So yeah, well done, Tristan Kramer. Thank you for listening, dear listeners. The season does feel a little bit like it's petering out to a close now. We are still mathematically in with a shout. We will, of course, be covering the final batch of games in April now. I'll be back at the weekend, probably with Merv after the Pompey game. Do send me your voice notes, and really, really helpful. If you want to join our panel of pundits next season, listeners, perhaps do give me a shout. It's great to have people sending in voice messages. That's one way to do it. You can contact me on X. I'm at Achtung Millwall on X, or you can message me by one method. The email is achtungmillwall@gmail.com. Email me, we'll exchange mobile numbers. The other thing you can do if you want, if you fancy talking to me, it's always good to talk after a game to get a little bit of post-match reaction. Normally do those on a Sunday mornings ideally if you're about. And we do it by means of a StreamYard call, which is dead simple. It's a bit like a Zoom call, that kind of thing. So, if you fancy joining in the show next season, all the profits that we make go to charity, go to the Lions Food Hub. So I don't do this for my own personal benefit. It's done so that we can generate money for the fantastic Lions Food Hub. So if you do want to come on as a pundit, it's fun. If you want to, kind of develop any kind of journalistic career, it's good practice. Not that I'm selling it on that score, but do feel free. I'd love to have you. And it's always good after a game, home or away, especially the away ones. They can be difficult to get any comment for. It's just good to be able to talk after the game, and I hope everyone enjoys listening to it. So there we are. Big thank you to everyone for contributing to this edition. I will be back at the weekend in the aftermath of Millwall versus Pompey. Until then, from me, Nick Hart, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.